This is John Colo with GrowingYourGreens.com to have another exciting episode for you here in the garden, the NorCal garden with the boogeyman, Josh from
Boogie Boy.
And Josh, why did you bring me out today in my garden today, and what are we discussing that is an important topic for actually both of us?
It's an important subject for everyone. It really
agree.
is. So you're titling this Soil Over Oil, and there's never been a more obvious time in human history for us to get off of freaking oil and choose soil, bro. It's just ridiculous. Like, most Americans are waking up to the fact that we are all a petroleum addicted society, and that these insane, wars that are being fought to keep oil tankers coming to us, which just continue to make our lives miserable, because it doesn't matter if the oil's cheap or not. The fact is, we're all addicted to it. We all are. And it's time to just be done with it. So choose soil over oil, period.
So Josh, how do we do this? Soil over oil? I mean, words are cheap, man. Anybody says anything in this new world these days, and it's probably not even, many things that's being said are not even true. I mean, I remember we were talking about maybe about a month ago on the phone.
Yeah.
And one of the things I said is like, you're like soil over oil. And I'm like, yeah, people are addicted to fertilizer,
Right.
like chemical fertilizers, like they're addicted to the gasoline for their car. Right?
Don't mind me looking down. I have so much to say about this. I'm kind of a Google SLUT. I use my Google Keep app to make some notes about all this, because it's a big topic. It's everything. It's everything, bro. It's our whole oil dependent, our whole petroleum dollar
society. Petroleum dependent society.
Yeah.
To make plastic, to make fuel for your vehicles, to make fertilizer for your garden if you're still on conventional fertilizer.
Right.
And I mean, the thing I learned from a very wise gardener many years ago is I want all you guys out there to become a producer instead of a consumer.
Right.
I was just at one of the local
at the local dispensaries,
right? And people are basically buying finished product.
Finished
product. I can't say that word on my new channel here.
Okay.
But they're buying finished product. And I'm like just thinking in my head when I'm sitting there buying clones, which I had buy two, get one for a penny. So I'm like,
cool.
Good.
That was a good deal.
Getting them good.
Yeah.
Getting them cheap, getting some good genetics. And then I'm like, well, everybody here, the guy in front of me, he was buying clones too, but everybody else was buying finished product. And I'm like, all those guys are suckers.
Right.
Because you could grow your legal limit of plants and have enough, especially if you're growing like TD, more than enough for your year and even all your friends.
By the way, TD this year is absolutely knocking it out of the park. In fact, his front yard is looking set to break at least maybe national, but certainly, NorCal pumpkin records, so Leah and I are actually going to head over there and do a report. His plants are bigger than they've ever been.
So Josh, how can somebody see the report? Because everybody keeps asking me, and I haven't had the time to get over there. So where are they going to see your report?
Well, now that YT has made your life more difficult about producing episodes regarding that plant, head on over to the Boogie channel. I promise. I know everyone's keeps asking me, Josh, get more reports from TDs. Okay.
Link down below to the Boogie channel.
You just
at Boogie Brew, right?
Yeah, at Boogie Brew, exactly. Yeah, you can find us. I mean, we're not trying to be. Sorry, I keep looking down. This bloody phone keeps locking me out. We need to get back on point. In fact, speaking of Boogie channel, everything we're talking about today, John, your audience can see just have your editor show a couple of quick clips from the world's best agricultural commercial, the Boogie Mercial.
Have you ever thought about what's really in the common fertilizers that you pour onto your lawn and garden? The sad fact is, just about all conventional fertilizers sold today are made from oil and gas. How do you think these pollutants react with the life that's in your soil? The burn from these chemicals leaves the soil devoid of the microbial web of life, making your plants reliant on external and synthetic food sources. And have you ever stopped to consider the horrendous impact of these toxins leaching into your groundwater? The same groundwater that we all drink from, including our children. You wouldn't knowingly pour petroleum on your vegetables now, would you? There has to be a better way. And with compost tea, Boogie Brew has the solution. This infusion of billions of living microbial organisms acts as a catalyzing agent that bridges the gap between soil, nutrient, and plant. an extraordinary blend of biolife, generating an elixir of organic amendments and soil conditioners, all while boosting your plants to new levels of health, strength, and vitality, making for some of the most astonishing horticultural achievements in history. World record-setting fruits and vegetables, all the while contributing to a clean and healthy environment, protecting and restoring both wildlife and amphibian habitats. And one of the best parts is not contributing money to the world's oil giants. Compost tea is like the probiotics of horticulture, a simple and powerful method to revitalize soil for a fraction of the cost of conventional fertilizers. When the integrity of the microbial web of life is compromised by chemical burn, precious water is wasted due to a lack of cohesion in the rhizosphere or root zone. So, if you're ready to make your plants dance, then start brewing your way to a greener thumb today with Boogie.
Clear. And no, I'm not trying to sell more tea. That's the last thing I need, okay? You've heard me say it over and over. What we own owns us. A bigger biz for me is a bigger headache. I don't want to be owned by Boogie Brew. I do want to do what I can in small ways as a little cottage-sized compost tea company to educate America's farmers on what you need to do to get off of chemicals. And the problem with America's farming, petroleum, chemotocracy-sponsored system is that it's designed to make the plants like heroin addicts.
Addicted.
Right. Reliant on synthetic and external food sources, right? And leaving the farmers who, their pocketbooks, obviously now with this, oil crisis, leaving these farmers' pocketbooks drained, right? Just like your soil gets drained of all its microbial organisms, of the beneficial microbial matrix.
The organic matter.
The organic matter, the community, the living community, which still none of us to this day really have a clue about. You've heard me say this before. The greatest soil scientists on Earth barely know 1% of the life forms that are in the dirt beneath our feet. Yet we, humanity, just keeps destroying it with this insane, now it's going on almost a century, a better part of a century's worth of experimentation with this whole, fertilizer scam, which is what it is, bro. I mean, you can choose, I think you mentioned to me, you can choose to invest your dollars into a draining entity, right? Something that just keeps draining your pocketbook, which is chemical fertilizers, right? Or you can choose to build your soil. You can choose to invest in it and make your soil your bank account. And so I posed this question to, of all people, Steve Cantwell. You've been to Super Steve Cantwell's farm. And again, link to the Boogie channel. I did a fantastic, best interview ever with this guy. And he says, make your living soil your cash crop.
And if we're not thinking about them in a way to constantly be bringing them to life, and you need to treat your soil like a cash crop, because it is a cash crop.
Where would I start? I would start with the education, with the Boogie commercial, which shows what looks like oil, but it's actually molasses, don't worry, being poured right on a tomato plant soil, right? Why are you? Because that's what fertilizers are made from. Well, they're made from natural gas, but it's still gas. And then the pesticides are made from oil, right? In general, right? Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's still deadrients, right? That are gonna.
They're still consumables.
Yeah, consumable. Exactly. Go back to that. Be a producer, not a consumer. What do we sound like? What do we sound like? What were you saying before we started this? A couple of libtards, right? It ain't.
Well, I don't think this should not be a political issue.
It really shouldn't. But the reality is, because of our chemotocracy, because of our petrodollar value system that we, as America, have forced upon the whole world for the last century, the terms, left-wing terms, if you want to call it that, like late stage capitalism, really do apply, because we're in late stages here, okay? And we're over here in Iran, starting wars for no reason, whether that's because our leaders are trying to create distractions from
Who knows what, exactly.
Who knows what. Or to keep this whole myth of of petroleum and being enslaved to it, which is
or just to get companies to make the most money that they've ever made in history, as people pay a lot of money at the pump out of their pocket and make people poor.
And trapping people into this mindset
That I'm addicted.
Right.
And I got to keep buying this stuff.
Right. Just like the plants are heroin addicts, we're all plastic addicts, convenience addicts. Right now, John, there's a huge chemical crisis brewing in, no pun intended, down in Southern California.
Garden Grove.
Garden Grove, yeah. This tank that's about to rupture where 50,000 people have all been forced to evacuate and sleep on cots, in schools and shelters because of the absurd situation of a tank of a substance that's used to make plastic. Methyl MMA. They always give it such clever little initials, right? Like the forever chemicals, right? What do they call them? PTFA,
PFOAs.
Right, PFOAs, right.
PTFE.
Yeah, PTFE, thank you. So this is MMA, methyl, blah, 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 methyl, blah, blah, methyl macrolate, right? Exactly, right? Not even the lyrical gangster can know how to pronounce this crap. And that's threatening a whole community. Now, let me ask you this. Your property here with this insane jungle growing all around it.
Jungle, yeah.
Right. Why doesn't Redfin, Zillow, any of the metrics of real estate values include on people's properties when you go shopping for a property, a soil report, a health of the soil, right? Right?
Because people don't value it.
People don't exactly.
Nobody cares.
Right.
They want a lawn. Most people probably want a lawn still, which is sad.
A chemical lawn. A lawn with
just that it looks nice.
A glyphosate stain.
Maybe a plastic lawn because it actually is green.
Right,
it
right,
stays
one of
green,
those-
and it's just more plastic, and you have to manage it or take care of it.
That's worse than plastic. Those are made for the polymers that are used in those fake lawns are actually forever chemicals. It's just crazy what we humans choose to how to invest our energy, our time, our dollar. So yeah, going back to it's late stage. It's the petro thing. If we could have revolved, imagine if oil was this amazing sustainable resource and all of its uses contributed to life instead of killing life. Imagine if oil spills in rivers and oceans actually improve the health of the delicate aquatic species and life forms, right? That would be just the dream come true, for the petrodollar, the billionaires who are just making the 1%, while we're all the 99%, more and more addicted to something that, it does not improve the health of anything, and it's in all of us.
This is the same thing the fast food industry does and the drug companies do. They make you addicted,
right?
Once you get on a drug for your blood pressure, right? Oh, you got to keep taking this drug, right? But hey, the answer, in my opinion, is eat properly, and guess what? You will magically, in many cases, not need your blood pressure meds anymore. Of course, consult your doctor before you go off any meds. And same thing with junk food and fast food and processed food, right? Made in a factory, using lots of gas and energy to make it. It's chemically addictive when we eat it, and then you want more, right? And then you don't eat foods from the garden. So Josh, before you start again, because I know you're going to go on these tangents.
Keep on ranting.
Say people agree with us, okay? Because I'm a solution-based guy. We could rant all day, and people are drilling it in their heads, soil, not oil. But what are the solutions that people could do in their lives right now to get off the oil train?
Well, again, this sounds like a boogie commercial, but I switched from Dedriance to compost tea.
Okay.
20
that's
years
for gardeners.
Ago.
Maybe people out there on my channel, and most people watching this already are already on compost tea and using organics.
The only reason I'm bringing it up is because it seems like it's the plants forgave me for having gotten them hooked on Dedriance and switched to, it turned on a switch. It seemed to rapidly boost the transition to that living soil, right? Rather than throwing compost on there and waiting for a season for that to break down and for the plants to be weaned, if you will, off of the chemicals. It seems like they make that switch, you know, to just say F you to deadrients and hello, we're embracing the, you know, billions of beneficials. So it'd be like a human whose gut has been poisoned and it's just completely filled with yeast and it's just, you know, from
bad bacteria.
Yeah, all the bad, right? And you turn, if you give them, you know, a bunch of, you know, kombuchas and ferments and sauerkrauts, you know, raw, of course, right?
And unique types of plant fibers.
Right. If you make that wholesale switch, if you just say, I'm done with deadrients and I'm going to living soil, I know that can work. I know it'll work. It'll actually probably work. I know darn well it'll work. You know how I know? I know. From the Petaluma Bounty Farm 15 years ago, where we donated tea to them. And they, within 3 months, were, you know, no longer having to worry about their food basket quota of 20 food baskets a week from 2 acres, and had more food than they knew what to do with, and were selling it at the local farmers market. And the 2 kids who had been hired out of a regenerative background, you know, a sustainable like ag school, right? They didn't go to the chemotocracy sponsored ag school like UC Davis's ag extension, you know. They were from a school that taught people how to do community farming, which with a big heavy emphasis on regeneratives. The only reason I'm saying how regeneratively minded they were is that these 2 kids were super shocked at how quickly we transformed what had been donated by the city of Petaluma, California's old junkyard land, and with soil that was truly wrecked, and that their pepper crop was actually dying in because it had some evil, that's what happens, you know, the really evil root-eating pathogens, right? The bad microbes take over, just like they do in a human gut, on a human raised on fast foods and a chemical diet, right? Same with your soil. I mean, the analogies, like the comparisons, John, between the farmatocracy and big ag's, you know, chemotocracy, it's the same thing. It's just different industries. It's identical. And most people get it. So they told me, they're like, wow, this was like within 3 months, we turned on a living soil switch that would have taken 3 seasons of traditional mulching and laying in compost, you know, to have such a thriving, if you want to call it, eco-community, an ecological community of living organisms. So, you know, I didn't mean for this to devolve into, you know, a little plug for compost tea. And by the way, the tea they used, it wasn't boogie. I mean, we gave them some boogie, but we just encouraged them to use compost they were making, a little worm thing that they had going, and, you know, just a little bin of worms. That's all it took for 2 acres. Was a very modest, you know, not even like half of a traditional, you know, 4x8 raised beds worth of worms, right? Of a worm barrel, whatever it was. I don't even remember. But I encourage them to take the scrappy amounts of castings, add a good sugar, my favorite is still sucanat, and make those workhorse teas. And boom, you know, just turn on that living soil switch. And like I said, why is it that... imagine the net worth, the property value to the right-minded buyer had that, it's obviously a non-profit community farm, but let's say that became like a privately held piece of real estate and was then sold, right? The right prospective buyer, most of your audience, right, would look at that like such a healthy investment that they're getting a piece of land that isn't just flooded with deadrients and that has a healthy living soil community in it. So... yeah, man, it's time. It's time to choose soil over oil. There's just so many more things. I need to go back and look at my notes. I'll hand it off to you, John. What do you got? Let's wrap this up. We always do this. We talk.
All right, Josh. So, I mean, my opinion is you're preaching to the choir out there, because a lot of you guys are already on the compost. So you've seen the results. You know what it does. Whether you buy Josh's, like I use Josh's stuff because I don't want to make my own. Whether you have your own castings, make your own compost, and hopefully make a fungal compost too that add in there,
right?
You know, to make your own compost tea, or whether you want to do the slow route and just add compost to your beds, right? Nature's systems will basically replenish itself if you have enough organic matter, and it'll just keep it going. Think about the forest. I was in my Puerto Rico forest, right? And like there's no fertilizer pixies. I go there, I dig holes, I plant my fruit trees, I leave for 5 months, and I come back and magically... some of them have grown like 3 feet in 6 months, because guess what? It's been raining off and on, and there's no fertilizer there. It's just nature's systems. All the trees, leaves drop, they break down. There's soil microorganisms. I could move my soil away and there's all these white threads. I'm like, oh, good. I already got mycorrhizal. I don't got to do anything. I don't even got to use any amendments, right? But we're starting at such a depressed place when you buy a lot that's been bulldozed in a tract house and they bulldoze the topsoil off. That's the best soil. It's now gone. So they have a flat lot and build your house.
I mean, Leah, my wonderful, the real biggie boss, you know, my partner, Leah, my wife for life, invested recently in a condo that we're now mostly living out of. I still got to make the move full time to Humboldt. That's the subject of another video. But it's just so sad because it's called Tamalpais Gardens, right? And there's virtually no like natural garden left. The soil's just so effing dead. We celebrated finding a single worm, right? And this is because of your typical HOA, just idiotic property mismanagement, where they allow a chemotocracy-sponsored landscaping company to come in and just spray the synthetics, you know, the pesticides. One neighbor says, oh, you know, I've got some spiders. So what does the landscaping company come and do? They spray an evil chemical, right? And it's just so sad because there's no value being placed by the community. And this is a small complex of only 18 units. So I've been educating people and calling for change. And unlike my previous HOA experience from 10 years ago, you did a video with me, no spray in our HOA. I was actually successful in getting our property management company to switch to sustainable solutions for pest control and, you know, for the pitiful lawn that's there, and not use Roundup, etc. Right? So it's possible to, you know, just be outspoken like me and stick your neck out in your community and just tell people, you know, turn off the detriment switch. I want my land to have some value. And going back to the Redfin Zillow thing, you know, the property is so absurd, right? Because the HOA, the management company, is pushing for a new, it's made from oil, a new driveway, right? New tarmac, you know, new, what do you call it? Tarmac, yeah, a new tarmac driveway. And it's just so ridiculous when they should, the driveway's fine, by the way, right? It's just a contractor looking to make some of those HOA dollars, you know, from an unnecessary, unneeded new tarmac-covered driveway and parking area, right? Whereas, imagine if they thought long-term about investing in the health of the soil. And I've got a neighbor who's been there for 24 years, John, and he remembers when it really was Tam Gardens, and there was this healthy orchard, and there were more birds, and everything was, you know, it hadn't been chemically tampered with. This is a new experiment in American landscaping. You know, it's only been going on for, well, that's not true. It's been going on since World War II or World War I even, somewhere in between there. But as far as just like the HOA phenomenon and just relying, you know, people not educating themselves and just relying on, I mean, kids don't even know how to grow potatoes in the ground because they don't watch your channel anymore, right? So with that mentality,
they don't even know potatoes grow in the ground.
Right, exactly, right? A convenience-based lifestyle that also, incurs this convenience-based attitude of like, oh, out of sight, out of mind, pay a landscaping contractor to spray my property with chemicals. And as long as it doesn't affect me that very same day, hopefully I'm gone at work while they're putting out their evil spray. You know, it's just absurd. I mean, it's time to end this atrocity, this chemotocracy-sponsored experiment. It's disgusting, actually. I'm getting emotional now, John.
So, Josh, I mean, I agree with you, and people probably watching this agree, but what can they do? Like, you know, for me as an outsider, I would say run for your HOA board, get on the HOA board,
right,
work your way up, become the president, and then guess what? Fire the stupid company.
Right.
That's, you know, the management company,
right,
or bring in another company, or you demand as the president now, because you're controlling it, right? Use like, you know, natural, you know, companies, and then put that orchard back in.
Exactly.
And then, so if people aren't in an HOA, what are their solutions in their lives besides growing organic, which we've already convinced most of the people watching this to do? What other things can they do in their lives, you know, to become a producer instead of a consumer?
Stop using plastic, number one.
All right, yes, so try to avoid plastic as much as practicable and possible is what I'd like to say.
You know, this MMA, this chemical tank crisis down in Southern California is only happening because of our idiotic, convenience, addicted lifestyle and people, you know, constantly choosing plastic. You need to make that conscientious effort. When you buy a fertilizer jug, it doesn't come in a plastic bottle. When you go shopping, you choose the items, excuse me for burping, that are not wrapped in plastic.
Or buy bulk.
I mean, you vote with your dollar. We do
do the best you can. I mean, the thing is, like, I'm not entirely off plastic. Josh probably more off plastic than I am, but like,
I'm not off. I'm wearing some synthetic fibers right now.
I generally don't buy
I've got an
synthetic
organic shirt, but then I got a fleece sweater. You know, this is a huge uphill battle.
So yeah, do what you can. Store things in glass. Don't store things in plastic. Right? I mean, that's an easy one. Save your old jars that you buy, you know, canned food in. Buy mason jars and don't buy Ziploc bags. I don't buy saran wrap. I get the parchment paper, you know, that's the non-stick that I shred and actually goes in my compost when I'm done with it. There's a lot of little steps you can do. And besides stop using plastic is, you know, the other thing I'm going to recommend, and something Josh and I both do is, you know, I know we're going to get hassled for this, but go electric.
Yeah.
You know, get an electric car and get solar panels on your roof. And guess what? Now you're producing the power for your car. I mean, Josh would also tell you go biking and use alternate transportation, trains, planes. Well, no planes. No, not planes. Bicycles, walking, you know, and get away from using the car as much as you possibly can.
Absolutely. Live free or drive. Live free or drive. I mean, a clipper cart and a bike here in the Bay Area is freedom. The number one thing that stresses people out living here in NorCal and in SoCal. It's not the cost of living, which is exorbitant. It's not the threat of earthquakes, you know, which is a real threat. It's the bloody traffic. So, when I drive an EV. Now, you know, of course, the EVs, there's still, most of the batteries are being produced with some heavy metals, but they are...
Well, they're going sodium batteries now.
They got sodium, exactly. They're going sodium. And, you know...
Nothing's perfect in life, but let's do the best we can is what I would say.
Which is,
you could always find issues with the EVs, but in my opinion, it's a step in a better direction than cars that cannot be fueled renewably.
Right. I mean, I believe it's more cobalt. I want to say it's cobalt. It could be nickel, but I think it's cobalt is actually used for the desulfurization, if that's such a word, of fuels. Right. They actually use cobalt to stabilize, to do something with like preventing, I don't know, it's the chemistry of fuels themselves, right? Which once you've burned that fuel, you know what I mean? You've used the cobalt, there are heavy metals used in the production of the fuel, of petroleum industry in general, uses them. And absolutely, I mean, like right now, I hate to say it, but the Chinese are light years ahead of us with their battery tech.
And renewables.
And I mean, like, okay.
And they're not suffering as much
right.
When the Strait of Hormuz is closed and we can't get our gas.
China has made a wholesale commitment to getting off of big oil. This is part of their national agenda, all right? They, as a country, their leadership has stated emphatically, we are aiming to get off of the petrodollar, to get off of oil altogether by 2050. Now, if we had leadership, we've had prior leadership that sort of flirted with those ideas a bit. We certainly, not to get political, I don't care who you support, it don't matter, left or right, they're all guilty of, they're all being supported by petrodollars, right?
Well, by big corporations, petrodollars or otherwise.
Just about every single one of them. I mean, I'm finally going to look at my notes that I keep glancing at, and I apologize. And by the way, that wasn't a fart. You know, speaking of China, politics, I'm finally going to look at my notes. I apologize for being rude and glancing at them. It's my short attention span. But if I was a leader visiting China, I would, you know, recently we've had our leader, for lack of a better word, visiting China. I wouldn't be asking them for help with keeping the Strait of Hormuz open for yet more big oil tankers. I would actually be asking for help with high-speed rail, solar, EVs, and battery technology, and all things renewable electric, because that's what they're going for. I mean, they have sworn off that petrodollar, which is ending.
Now, why are they doing that, Josh?
Because they see there's, you know,
They're smart.
yeah, I mean, they're dummies too. We're all dummies, right? We all, you know.
Well, they're doing it for their best interest because
Right,
guess
right.
what? China's not a place that has deposits of tons of oil.
Okay, well, I'll give you an example.
Right.
My buddy Kurt, who grew, great grower, by the way, one of my best boogie ambassadors for years up in Grass Valley, he moved to Thailand with his wife. He left this country and he's moved to Thailand, right? Now,
Expat.
yeah, expat, exactly. But my buddy from Grass Valley, right? Awesome dude, right? Guess what happened to his property that he and his wife own outside of Bangkok in Thailand? It doubled in value, John, when China invested in a high-speed rail at China's expense and you know, piloted this high-speed rail, you know, on their, I believe it was at their expense, might be wrong, might have cooperated with the Thai government. No matter what, the Thai government welcomed them to have high-speed rail, you know, come all the way to the suburb of Bangkok where he has his property. It doubled in value.
But Josh, the other thing I'll say is that, you know, as Americans, we're addicted to driving, and there's
Right.
been high-speed rail going in, like in South Florida, you
Right.
know, the Bright Line, and they're
Bright
going
Line, yeah.
bankrupt because nobody's riding them because we're not in China and stuff. You know, people they can't buy cars, so they're forced to use transportation. And in America, we're used to driving everywhere, and even if there was rail, right, people will not use it. We want our own autonomy and our freedom.
China became a car republic in the last 15
I mean, that's
years.
the other thing I think we should do personally is drop the 100% import tariff on Chinese EVs. And guess what?
Right.
Then we're going to get flooded with cheap EVs, right? Then people
Right.
have to buy gas.
With sodium batteries.
With
I mean,
sodium
right.
batteries,
Just
right? The
switch it
latest
off.
tech.
Right.
And they're just going to be cheaper in a free market economy, which I think we are supposed to have.
Right.
That would rule because
Right.
people buy these cheap Chinese cars, but we can't even have them.
I mean, we are definitely.
We can't even get them. Mexico could have them. Canada could have them. But we're locked out, man.
You've got viewers switching off right now who are
Oh,
just,
they're pissed. They don't like what
you know,
we're saying.
we sound like a couple of libtards, and it's really like I can't. You know, I hate to use such language about myself. It's ridiculous. You know, listen, this whole like threat of World War III. You've heard me say this before, folks. World War III already begun. It's begun quite a while ago. You know, sometime in the last 2-3 decades, I estimate, definitely in the last decade, right? It's the battle to save us from ourselves. Period. And that's all I'm saying about our so-called leaders going to China, having these summits, continuing these insane wars when we should all be looking for more solutions. Now, you asked me what can people do. I said, well, you know, the first switch they can do is if they're a farmer is addicted to deadrients, they can just switch to teas. But we did a video together, 8 years ago, about my vision for America's future, which is that every neighborhood has a community worm farm, a community living soil compost facility. Now, in some towns, if you try hard, you can go find when they're doing free wood chip, right? Like they did.
I heard Sonoma County now is exporting all the green bins out of county, making the compost out of county, then importing it back into the county. Then they have free compost pickup sites now.
See, so we're slowly,
which is totally ridiculous in my opinion.
The carbon footprint of that is absurd.
And they closed a local compost facility many years ago, unfortunately.
Right, which was very sad because that guy's a genius.
Well, it was a genius.
Yeah,
he had
still
passed
is.
on.
Oh, he passed away?
He passed on, unfortunately. I saw that, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
that is a loss.
Behind Sonoma Compost.
Right, and the Make It Happen captain that showed people how to do it. You know, going back to community composting, community recycling, for God's sakes, if you see your neighbors putting anything that isn't truly biodegradable in the green bin.
Well, most places don't have green bins, Josh.
Right, that's true.
In Vegas, we don't have green bins.
You don't even have green bins.
We don't. A lot of places I visit, I mean, some places still only have trash. They don't even have recycle bins. And then, dude, the stuff in the recycle bins even get recycled.
Oh.
That's why I say do it yourself. You know, a lot of my cardboard gets shredded and goes into my compost.
Right.
I know it is getting reused.
It'll feed worms.
It'll feed worms versus
yeah.
if it goes in the bin, does it still just end up at the landfill and just this whole recycling sham, or does it end up in, you know, some foreign country just being burned? I mean, you don't know. So, I mean, don't get involved with those products as much as you possibly can in the first place.
and get out there and preach like we're doing now. That's what this is, a healthy Josh and John rant. And it doesn't matter whether people call you LAB tard or not, you know, it's just,
I'm a planet tard. I'm here for the planet. I'm here for the people, the planet.
A planetard. I like that. I like that. I'm a planetard. Amen.
Because it's better for the planet. That's what I'm for.
That's my politician.
I'm not here to be any side, any right or left. I don't care.
Right.
I'm going to always vote for things that are going to be good for the planet.
I'm a pro-life liberal. That's where I stand. But let me tell you who my real politician is. It is this planet. It is.
And make the planet.
And all you have to do is make that conscientious, you know? I mean, I used to be, when I was younger, I was a selfish wanker. I didn't think twice about just hopping in, what was I driving back then? My Audi gas-guzzling wagons, you know, with my bike racks on the back and just driving here, driving there, you know? Now, I carefully construct public transit routes. Like my parents live in San Luis Obispo, and I'll take 2 different trains to get down to San Jose from here and then take Amtrak to go see them because I'm living free of driving. And guess what? It's the #1 way you're most likely to die, at least until you reach your mid-60s approximately, or 60 somewhere. For someone like John or Josh, probably realistically, because we take care of our bodies a lot later, right? But statistically, the #1 way we're most likely to die, is in our automobiles, right?
Yeah.
Until we become, you know, retirees, until we become true senior citizens, that's the #1 way. So you're avoiding that. You know what I mean? These are just personal choices. That's what this video is about. And we know you've already, most of you have, you're the permaculture community. That's why you tolerate us babbling on, Josh ranting on too much. You know, your egos are all dissolved. You care more about the health of your soil than being some Karen. I feel so sorry for ladies named Karen. Like, as an example, the Boogie customers, the Boogie tribe, there's not a single wanker. I cannot remember the last time I sold a bag of Boogie Brew to a wanker, to a you know, demanding, again, I apologize to ladies named Karen. I don't know why that has become such a universally adopted name.
You use the words. Use the words about the person instead of just the the name.
We don't have any K's. Okay, I'm just going to call it K's. Okay, so we don't have any, and that's because you realize the human value system is so skewed. It's such a freaking petrotocracy that people's entire life, going back to the whole. Sorry to regurgitate early in the video. Zillow, Redfin, the data on your property, what's my property worth? In a realtor's eyes, if it's been sprayed with Roundup and has this new tarmac driveway in it,
actually, the tarmac driveway might have made the property value go up.
That's what I'm saying. In a realtor's eyes, a property. That's what I'm. And you and I, we know it doesn't. And everyone who's watching this knows intrinsically. My God. I hope to God my neighbors don't destroy my property, my soil value. So soil over oil. Oil is the oil dollar, right? Soil needs to be our new dollar. And like we have these cryptocurrencies. Why in God's name do we not have a soil currency? And I believe in yours and my lifetime, John, we will see that happen.
There is a soil currency currently, Josh. People that produce high quality soil charge a lot of money for it. And they get it, that have like good bacterial and fungal, matter and activity.
But you know what? That investment, your property that I'm sitting in right now is a perfect example of this. And we did a video about a year ago about how, other than the occasional wood chips or whatever that you throw on there to just, filler, basic organic filler matter that you put in because your organic matter in your bins keeps breaking down. You've done nothing.
Yeah, I've been really lazy here.
I've been
basically
lazy.
Don't do compost. I don't do anything. I just if I put the plants in the ground or just shake seeds out or throw seeds out, actually, and this thing is a jungle.
Right, and I'm lazy because I'm supposed to sponsor you with some free tea, I
haven't even done tea in ages
we haven't brought him any tea that's not needed. So, it really is like Steve Cantwell says, you've made your living soil your cash crop, and therefore every plant that you put in it will then dance. And it's that simple, and it's just gotten better. Same with TD. He's barely done, I think, did he even add no, he hasn't added biochar. Oh, Hector, one of our shippers gave him, boy, do we have a funny frass story. Some anaerobic, so some fermented, not plant juice, fermented frass juice. This was like some black soldier fly frass that had sat in our backyard at our funky shop property up in Santa Rosa. And it got wet. Yeah, it went anaerobic, right? Which is a no-no. I always tell people, you want to use your nose to detect, good bio. It will tell you more than a $10,000 microscope, right? It'll just, the sweet, earthy eco smell, as I point up my nose. Well, Hector brought him this frass. I said, Hector, bring TD some of our extra materials, they're just, kind of funky, but I didn't know it stank like that. It had gone anaerobic.
You're giving them
bad
shit.
Bad shit, exactly. Bad fly shit. Excuse our French. And, but he did it in the winter, and I was horrified. I went over there.
Oh, the winter's fine, man. It's
it was
just
in the winter.
Broken down.
Yeah. It got
over the winter.
Yeah, and
then probably be really good.
Yes, and
by the spring.
Really good. But Leah and I went over there, and we used our noses to tell us, this isn't so deadly after all.
Well, because
right?
it's good all the good stuff
There's
in there
still
basically
some-
broke down all the bad stuff and
Right.
kicked its ass. Made it
Well,
good.
the dominator species
Right.
that are unique to black soldier fly, I believe, had a lot to do with it. I'm not telling you deliberately to allow, I don't want people doing anaerobic teas, but
Well, a lot of people still do anaerobic teas.
well, that's true.
Plant juices and things.
right? Right.
Those can have benefits.
Right, you don't need to do actively aerated. That is true. It's a whole nother.
But it's a whole different video. Yeah.
So many nuances here. But my point is, he put some dying organic matter, smelled like death, organic matter but it was organic, frass on the soil in the winter. By the spring, Leah and I went over there using, and it starts to have this like wine-like, this somewhat healthy kind of still not sweet, but transitionally, it was smelling pretty good. You could tell some good things are happening. Meanwhile, worms are coming up and eating the stuff, so they're not minding it either, And now, oh my God, he's gonna break pumpkin records, I'm telling you, in his boogie beans this year. Oh, so we gotta document that for you all. But as usual, Josh and John, blah, blah, healthy boogie babble session. Thank you for listening, by the way. You've been a great audience. We
All right,
really appreciate
Josh,
you.
before we sign off today, give people 5 action tips or things they could do right now to moving towards soil and getting away from oil.
Top
5 things in their lives, gardening or not.
Gardening or not. Okay, so go plastic free.
All right.
As little plastic as possible. Choose on a daily basis where you're going to drive, whether it's in a, nickel cobalt EV or one, the LFP EV or a gas car. Choose your daily decisions on how.
Wisely. Don't don't randomly go. When I go on an errands, I run here, and make a circle and loop back to my house. So I could take the minimum, and then I do it like once a week instead of I got to go to the grocery store every single day to get my things and come back.
Yeah, try to
reduce your trips.
And myself, that's easier said than done.
And use Google Maps. I use Google Maps and map everything I want to go, and then kind of make the exact route for traffic time and my time and mileage reduction.
And don't. I think the best way of saying this is try to get 5 things done for everything that you do. Don't create 5 additional things that need to be done when you do something, which is easier said than done. So that's number 2. Number 3, go door to door in your community and just ask your neighbors point blank, please don't use Roundup, don't use deodorants. Have you thought about...
Well, especially your neighbors that live right next door to you.
Oh,
You don't want to get any drift.
Listen, most of you that are watching this can identify with me when I bet you have family members who think you are just nerds that,
They think you're crazy.
Yeah, in the 80s, they would have labeled us like granola heads, right? You know what, though? What's extreme, and he and I have talked about this, the word extreme, is the continued reliance on everything we just talked about, on our petrodollar. That is what is extreme. What is extreme is everything that humanity is, not you, but humanity as a whole, our society as a whole.
Considers normal.
It considers normal. That is what is extreme. And you just need to keep hammering it home to people. Keep keep telling them. So that's number 3. Jeez, number 4, help me out.
So use compost tea. I mean, that should have been your number 1, man. I mean, hopefully we're already preaching the choir. Use compost tea. Get off the deadrients. Get off the synthetic fertilizers.
I just,
some people haven't done that yet, Josh.
yeah, but I don't think it's part of the top 5. I mean, compost tea. I mean, it's kind of
No. I mean, another one. I mean, along with that, I would say grow your own food
There you go.
and basically eat something out of your garden every single day and try to make what you eat out of your garden more and more. Because then, guess what? Then less petroleum, diesel has been fueled to like drive that product across the country. Hopefully you're buying organic, but if you're buying conventional, then more oil has been used to grow that, then more oil is used to transport that, more oil is being used to keep it cool in a fridge before you buy it, you know? So grow your own food as much as you can and eat as much as you can out of your yard before you go to hopefully support local farmers in your area, and then support, you know, regenerative organic, and then just conventional food if you need to fill in.
So be a producer, that's number 4. Actually, that should be number 1. You know, we got this list backwards.
But producer in any way that you can.
Right.
You know, what do you want to produce your own power with solar, through wind, through, you know, water turbines in like a river? If you have that accessible on your property, that's one of my goals in Puerto Rico. I have a little river at the bottom of the property. I'm going to have a little turbine that spins as the water rushes through it.
I mean, we really do live in a golden era of future and already now, you know, waiting in the wings, super affordable, regenerative, sustainable solutions. I mean, the solar as a whole has dropped a tenfold, a 50-fold, a 100-fold in years of my life.
And now they have plug-in solar that in some places you don't even need a license or permit. You can just plug it in.
I mean, and then that's unplugging yourself from the petrodollar that dictates most of your utility bills.
Right.
Okay?
And now you're becoming a producer of your own power instead of consumer, like all the companies, like shit companies like NV Energy want you to just be a consumer forever. And they make laws to make it hard to be your own producer, because you know they're gonna impact their profit.
So yeah, that would be, you know, that's in the top 5. I want to kick compost tea out of there because that just sounds too much like a shameless boogie. Compost tea is a high octane fuel additive to the main horsepower, right? The main horsepower being that living soil engine, and the tea is a wonderful. And I hate to use such analogies, you know, fuel additive, engine. Yeah, it sounds so oil industry, but it is the best analogy I can come up with. Top 5, we got one more. Divestiture. What's the word? Divestiture. A lot of Americans have 401ks. So try to exercise some control over what that 401k is invested into. All right. Try to say, okay, these are my investment assets, but I wish for them to be invested into everything we were just talking about, into sustainable, into SRI. What is SRI? Sustainably responsible investments. So, and that's what this whole video is about, you know, an investment into your life, into health being our only
and into the planet,
into the planet,
planetary health, which then reflects down to our health.
Yeah, exactly.
Personal health.
Yep. That was healthy. Just getting that off our shoulders was healthy. Yep. Emotional health too. Yep.
All right.
Which humans, when you dig in soil, healthy living soil, this has been proven that you get what is it? Pleasure hormones. You get flooded when you get not chemical soil, not dead soil, not deadriant soil. When you have soil, just go out and put your fingers into the forest next time you go walking in the woods and there's healthy soil. And that literally stimulates, endorphins or similar, type of hormonal pleasure hormones, if you want to call it that, for lack of a better word, in the human body. So that just shows you, right there, like just for us to be emotionally healthy requires that we play with the dirt, with healthy living soil over oil.
Awesome, Josh. So, all you guys out there, after watching this, what one action will you take off the previous 5 lists? Put it down below and share what you will do to make the world, the planet, a healthier place.
Whatever you can do to get off that petrodollar, we want, and
it's a step at a time. It's not like you're going to just, sell your car and get an EV tomorrow. Some of you guys maybe could do that. Some of you guys can't. but, you know, do what you can. Small incremental changes over time. You know, stop buying that whatever oatmeal in the plastic and go to the local store that sells it in bulk, and then fill up your glass mason jars with it instead.
Leah and I were at a Trader Joe's recently, and we gave the girls who were stocking the tomatoes a big atta girl because they were using cardboard. The vendor of the tomatoes that they had was a plastic-free packaging, and I said, please give your main corporate buyers who chose these tomatoes a big attaboy for me. And they said, oh yeah, we love this packaging. So the kids that are working to stock this stuff in your local supermarkets, even they are sick of all this plastic.
One step at a time, you can do it.
Yep. Amen.
Awesome. All right. So if you guys enjoy this content with a John and Josh rant that we haven't had in like forever, and you want more, hey, thumbs this video up. Also be sure to share this video with other people that need to learn how to save this planet and go towards the soil and away from the oil in this society that we live in, becoming a producer instead of a consumer.
Don't forget, sorry to interrupt, I always do this to you. Most people, in our society, we refer to our creator as G-O-D, grow or die.
All right, cool, Josh. Also, make sure you click the subscribe button right down below so you don't miss my new and upcoming episodes that come out 5 to 7 days. You don't know or show up what you'll be learning on my YouTube channel. I have some really cool farms I've been visiting that I have the episodes coming up really soon. And make sure you click the little bell so you're going to be notified as my new videos come out. And finally, be sure to check out past episodes. Past episodes are a wealth of knowledge. Over 1,800 episodes at this time on this channel, dedicated to you guys all about how to grow your own food. I'll put some of my favorite episodes with the John and Josh rants. If you guys want to hear more of us, go off. Link down below, and especially to the Boogie Brew channel where you can get the TD updates, as well as to his 2-minute infomercial about soil, not oil, and as well as the Steve Cantwell interview that you guys should all watch as well. So with that, my name is John Kohler with growingyourgreens.com. We'll see you next time, and until then, remember, keep on growing.